This last topic we've got, leveraging the power of your story. This is a real important one for everybody, I believe, and really one that resonates with me. I believe that each one of our coaches, you have something inside of you that makes you uniquely qualified to reach people. There are people that are struggling, that need what we have. And they've heard it all before. They've heard it one way, they've heard it upside, they know what they need to do, but for some reason, your story is what will make the difference for them. You reaching out and connecting with them, just in the way that you've got your life experiences, the things that you've gone through, will somehow break through all those barriers that they put up around themselves, and they'll give it an inkling of hope and belief that they'll be willing to try to make positive steps in their lives. Okay? That's the power of our story. Miguel and Lori did a great job, didn't they, you guys? They did phenomenal. Okay? And at the end, they talked a little bit about connecting with people, right? And when we connect with people, it happens when we share who we are and what we do. And I can't think of two better presenters to talk about this than the ones that we have right here in this workshop with us tonight. Okay, this afternoon, whatever it is, I don't know. Is it daylight up there still? So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm taking you to the sex, so I want you to kind of engage with us here, because you're not going to want to miss this. And I'm going to ask you really honestly to really help me bring to the stage with a huge round of applause two amazing coaches. We have Danielle, Natoni, and Katy, Ursta. Now Danielle is a 9-star Diamond Coach, 2014 Elite Coach. She has achieved Elite Coach status 3 times and is part of the Millionaires Club. Okay, Danielle, for those of you who don't know. She also has 32 personally sponsored diamonds. I don't know if you guys, that's pretty good, right? She knows how to help people. Katy, 9-star Diamond Coach, 2014 Elite Coach. She's achieved Elite Coach status 2 times, and she's also a Success Club 5 Legend and a Success Club 10 All-Star. So these guys know what they're talking about, and you guys are going to come out of here on a high thanks to them, so I'm going to turn it over to you and get out of the way. Ladies, it's all yours.
All right. Before we get started, can we take your picture? So, smile real big and pretty. Ready? We can see all of you. Ready, and cheese.
You're not smiling in the front. Can you smile a little bit bigger, please?
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh man, I am on stage with the Fit and Funky. How lucky am I?
No. I'm the lucky one. I'm on stage with one fit fighter.
I think we need to rock this.
Yeah.
You ready to go?
I am ready. If my clicker works. Oh, and before we get started, for those of you that did miss the workout and are going today, don't think you can leave early, because I have to go there too. So if I can be here the whole time, so can you. So I'm watching you. No sneaking out early. Cool? Awesome. So the worst story ever told is the one that is not told. And I want you to think about that for a second. Because I actually did that. When I started, I didn't tell anyone my story because I thought you guys wanted me to be perfect. And I thought if I told you my story and I wasn't perfect, you wouldn't relate to me. When that's actually the opposite. It wasn't until I started sharing my story that my business gained any momentum whatsoever. Because what you wanted from me was imperfection, and I have that. And the more that I can share that, the more that people will attract to me.
Absolutely. So my question is, why do we share our story? Why do we do it? I know we've heard that expression before. Facts tell, stories sell. You know, the cool thing about Beachbody is we're everywhere. I don't know if you're staying in a hotel, but any station you turn on, you see an infomercial with 21 Day Fix, and you're like, I know that guy. It's true, the products sell themselves, but successful coaches have to share their story. It makes you real, it makes you relatable, it builds your self-confidence, and it grows your business, because it is 100% you being you, and you can't fake that.
Clicker moves slow. So, most people don't tell stories because they don't know how to tell them. The thing is that every single one of you sitting here in the room today has a story to tell. There's not a single one of you in here that doesn't have a story. You may think you don't, but you do. The thing is that you just don't know how to tell it. And like I said earlier, I was in the same place. I didn't know how to tell it. I didn't know how you would receive it. I didn't know how much to tell, how little to tell, what I should tell you. And so the thing is that you have a story and you have to share it. That's absolutely your number one job.
Right, and it's so important to know too that nobody can take that from you, and that's what's going to separate you from the other 300,000 coaches in the organization. So here's what you can expect from the two of us today. Our job today is to teach you, and it's appropriate because we both were teachers. We were both classroom teachers, so this is very natural.
If you're a teacher, come on, teacher!
So in true teacher fashion, we're going to bullet point it for you. So our first point, we're going to tell you how to tell your story, when you should actually share it, and how your story will actually help you connect to more people, why it sets you apart, and how it makes you different.
So, what is your Beachbody story? And we're highlighting Beachbody because you have tons of stories. So we're not talking about when you were 9 years old and you didn't get that present you wanted for Christmas. That's a whole different story. We're talking about your Beachbody story, so it's very specific. And we feel like your Beachbody story can fall into one of three categories: financial, physical, and emotional. And I know for me, why I felt that I didn't have a story in the beginning was I didn't really have a physical transformation. I didn't come to Beachbody looking for a fitness solution. I came to Beachbody looking for a financial solution, and actually what I didn't really realize is I was looking for an even deeper emotional solution. And that's what I got. So transformations are more than just that side-by-side before and after picture that you see. I get asked all the time, oh, can you post your before and after picture? There's not that much change in me over the years on the outside, but I can't show you my insides and how much I've changed, and that transformation is just as powerful. So today, as we're talking through this, we want you to know that these are basically your story starters, and you may have stories in each of these categories. Because I do, even though my financial or my physical gains aren't that big, I still have gotten fitter over time and have gotten healthier. So you actually may have lots of stories that are your Beachbody story, and they can fall into one of these three categories.
And it's interesting too, because last night at the opening, I want to call it the opening ceremony. I feel like I'm in the Olympics. Yeah. But last night, I don't know if anybody else was moved simply by the opening when we were listening to that song, Stand By Me, and all of these images came up, and there was an emotional pool. And then you saw the images that were going on the screens that showed transformations, and you're going to hear about them on Saturday as well with our grand prize winners. And then also when they were shredding their debt. How cool was that? It's there. You don't have to be just a physical transformation to be an inspirational coach. You don't have to be just a financial success story to be a successful coach. You don't have to be just an emotional story. You have to find what works for you.
So let's get a little more specifically into that.
Right. So I was thinking about this, and as we were coming up with these ideas, I want you to start thinking. When you're talking about your story and one of these three areas, start thinking about the questions you can ask yourself to start pulling this information. My first question for you is, have you ever struggled with self-confidence? Perhaps you've gone to the gym and you never wanted to get on the treadmill because you're afraid someone was looking at you. Maybe you're somebody who has struggled with the idea of accepting a compliment. Or perhaps you've asked yourself this question: is there something else out there for me? Or maybe you struggle to fit in somewhere. Is that your Beachbody story?
Maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, I didn't have a ton of weight to lose, but did you ever put on a pair of pants that just fit a little too snug? Or did you ever look in the mirror and not love who you saw? Or maybe it was you got winded when you were walking up a flight of stairs. Or you were worried, would you be around long enough to play with your kids? And I hope as we're going through some of these, like things are starting to click in your head and you're thinking, yeah, I've felt that way before, because these are all parts of your story. The last one is a big one for me. Have you ever struggled with debt or lived paycheck to paycheck? And this was one I was embarrassed to share, because when I started coaching, I put myself into the negative to sign up and bounce actually many things after it all went through. And I'm so thankful I did that. But I know what it feels like to not be able to put a full tank of gas in my car. I used to watch the people that would put the tank of gas in the car and put the handle and then walk away. I thought, gosh, that must be so liberating. I used to have to pump, pump, pump. Please don't go over a penny. I don't have another penny. And then it did, and you're scrounging in the bottom of your car. I know what that feels like, but I was afraid to share that. And so you have to go through these questions in your head, because in one of these buckets, you've been through something that somebody else has been through. So as we're talking today, maybe write it down, or if you're on your phone, make a note and start thinking of what are some of these things that you've experienced that you know would be really impactful for somebody else. And then we're going to teach you how you can share how Beachbody helped you in that area.
It's really about connecting and making you relatable to somebody. Maybe you didn't ever know that about Danielle. I know before I knew Danielle, she just looked like fit and funky, man. She just looked good. But there's so much more, and when you're putting your story out there, you connect. I want everybody to grab their phone right now and take a picture of what you see here. This is what I lived by last year. This is what I live by and teach my coaches now. That's so important, and what has been this secret to my success in this business. Your trials are your triumphs. Your struggle, the one you're scared to share, that's your story. Your adversity is your advantage. And my favorite one, your mess, that's your message. So powerful, and hopefully that's kind of sinking in a little bit, because those are the things people connect to. Just like Katy said, she didn't know some of those things about me, and maybe you don't know those things about me, or maybe there's certain things about Katy that you don't know. But I know that by sharing my story, I become a little bit more relatable. And I actually have to work at that. If I don't share my story, you guys don't like me. I'm told all the time, oh, you can be very intimidating. But once I share my story, then you realize I'm just a person, just like you. I've gone through all the same things that you've gone through. And while maybe our stories are different, maybe her and I have had different stories, but through that struggle, through that triumph, we can connect because we understand what it feels like to overcome something. Absolutely.
Okay, here's where we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. How to tell your story. So we're going to make it very simple for you. The school teachers and us wanted to make it pretty easy. You're going to have a subject of your story. You're going to tell us about the when, the what, and the how. We're going to demonstrate that for you, and then we're going to break that apart. Right now, Katy is going to share her story with you. I'm going to warn you that it's an emotional story. I also want to let you know that your story may not be that deep. It may not be that emotional. However, your story is just as powerful as hers. So this is a time to put your phones down and just listen. And then once she's done, we're going to go back and we're going to dissect that.
I actually haven't told it in a while, and I haven't told what I'm going to tell a lot of you today. But before I actually start, I want to remind you that this is your Beachbody story. And so with that being said, I have to ask you guys, have you ever had just a bad day? The kind of day where you spill coffee on your shirt, The kind of day where you are late to work and the car doesn't start. You know that project that your boss demanded on his desk Monday morning, and all of a sudden, it's like my dog ate my homework. I don't know where it is. Those kind of days, or where the kids just aren't getting along, and as a mom or a dad, you have lost your temper. Your spouse and you aren't seeing eye to eye. Bad day. On day 3 of the 21-day fixed launch, that was my bad day. I was excited, you know, I was gonna nail those colored containers. I was gonna make them, I was gonna own them. I was gonna own those colored containers. And what happened? I was on my workout mat, and the phone rang. My husband handed me the phone. It's cancer. Cancer had called. 2 days later, my oncologist called. It was stage 4 cancer. A day after that, bone marrow biopsy. That was a really bad day. I don't know that the sun started to shine until a couple of days after that, when I had decided to cut off all of my hair. My hair had been about halfway down my back, and I cut it all off because I was not letting cancer take it. And in fact, I had spent so much time on Google, my husband actually threatened to take the internet away. So as Beachbody coaches, we know we don't want our internet ever taken away. But I had spent a lot of time on Google, and I read a lot. Things I couldn't unread, and things that are stuck in my mind. And so one day, after being diagnosed and sharing with only a few close friends and family, my husband and I made the trip over to my coach's house. We had just let them know. And if you know my upline coach, you know that she's a planner. If she has a problem, she sets a plan of attack to conquer it. I can tell you on the day that my coach didn't know how to solve this. She didn't know what to say to me. She didn't know how to deal with it, but she was just going to be a friend. So after we'd sat in her basement and cried, and made this plan for how at least every month I was just going to hit Success Club 5, because at least that meant I was doing the bare bones to grow my business and build it forward. I didn't have medical insurance anymore. I just lost it because I had extended my maternity leave. Maybe we can call that bad luck. I'm not really sure. But her husband said something very much on a whim, and that is something that was a turning point in how I looked at everything about cancer. Her husband told me, well, actually he asked me, he said, Katy, have you ever heard of Stuart Scott? And I said, yeah, from ESPN, I think he's a sportscaster. Cancer, right? He has cancer. Her husband said, yes, but did you know that in 2013 he won the Inspiration Award with Beachbody? And I said, no. And he said, go check it out. And so that night, instead of Googling all the awful things that cancer can do to your body and all the awful treatments that I was going to have to go through, I Googled Stuart Scott. I Googled the Beachbody Inspiration Award. Awesome. And I saw a man that decided to sweat because he had cancer. Because sweating to Stuart Scott was his way of beating cancer. Because Stuart Scott would sweat before chemo. And do you know what program he did? P90X. Do you know what he did after chemo? When he would come home and a drip bag still at his side, giving him drugs, he would do Kempo. Do you remember that workout? You guys still do that one? And I thought to myself, well, I'm not an athlete, but I have an entire catalog of Beachbody programs in my basement. And you know what? I'm just gonna sweat. I don't care how sick I am. I'm just gonna do it, because if he can do it, I can do it. And maybe, if I just share it publicly, somebody might be inspired. One person might be inspired. So there I was, first day of chemo, and I sweat. I didn't do the 21-day fix because I'll be honest with you, I still struggle to do that workout for obvious reasons. And then I would come home from chemo, and even though I was in pain and I was sick, I would turn on one of the hardest workouts and I would sweat, and that was a silent relief. And I would sweat, and I would share it. And on the days I was so sick, my team would sweat for me. And before we knew it, we were sweating for something bigger. We started to realize that every sweat mattered, that because we were sweating, because we simply had the ability to do it, when other people could not, we created almost a movement. We started thinking about how every sweat matters, every story matters, every one matters. And people started coming to us and asking us to sweat for people that they knew who couldn't. On August 18th of this year, I will officially be in 1 year of remission. But if you don't realize how impactful you are on one person, focus on the one. Beachbody provided me with the opportunity to sweat for something bigger. But it was me that had to share my story. I had to get outside my comfort zone, and I had to do that. And so I did, and my team did, and that is why today I am standing here in front of you, telling you, you matter. You matter a lot.
So I'm gonna pause for just a second. Now let's give her a round of applause. We actually discussed that in all our rehearsals. We're like, so how do we go from there? So everyone just take a big exhale. Ready? Awesome.
And we do realize too that every story isn't that,
right?
And that's what we want to talk to you about too.
Right. So let's dissect what she did. Let's take that story and let's show you how you can do the same thing with whatever yours is. Living paycheck to paycheck, losing 50 pounds, getting off cholesterol medicine, feeling comfortable in your own skin, feeling purpose as a stay-at-home mom, whatever that is, okay? Like she said, your story doesn't have to be cancer. My story isn't, but you have a story, and so we're going to use hers to kind of figure out how you can do the same. So first of all, in your head, I want you to start to think, so that you can build this out already in your mind a little bit. What is it that is your subject of your story? Which one of those 3 buckets does it fall into? And like we said, over time, you might share one from each bucket, but for right now, I want you to pick one bucket that you fall into. So for me, that was that I was in payday loan debt, I wasn't even making it paycheck to paycheck, and I had no way out. That was the subject of my story. The subject of Katy's story was cancer. What's the subject of your story? Write it down or think it in your head.
It's the one you're scared of. That's the one. The one you're afraid to talk about. The one that kind of makes you uncomfortable or causes you to have a lump in your throat. It's the one that you don't want to admit right now. That's the one.
So let's go to the when. Now you know the subject of your story, whatever one that you wrote down or you're thinking in your head. So if we go back to Katy's story, it was 3 days into the 21-day fix. That's very specific, okay? So same for me. A lot of times when I actually finally started sharing my story, I share a time where I was at the grocery store with a cart full of groceries and 2 kids with me, one on my hip and one right at my side. I darn well knew I didn't have enough money in my bank account to pay for those groceries, but I had this little secret trick where if I wrote a check, well, they probably wouldn't cash it till the next day, and I'd be good, and then I could like scurry and get the money in there before they ever cashed it. And that worked sometimes, and sometimes it didn't. And this time it didn't. I had played that game one too many times, and they wouldn't accept it. And so I looked at the cashier and said, "Oh, I'll be right back." And they said, "Sure, we'll just push your groceries off to the side." She knew I wasn't coming back, and I knew I wasn't coming back. And so that's a lot of times when I now share my financial transformation, that's where I start. Because the first time I ever shared that on social media, I'm mortified. Like I thought I was going to throw up. And so, again, it wasn't cancer, but it was something that was cancerous to me. And so you have to think of the when. So right now, in your head, you know your subject, when. What was that specific when? 3 days into the 21-day fix on a very bad day. Standing in the grocery store with 2 kids at your side, and you're an elementary school teacher. Technically, you have a good job. What the hell are you doing with your paychecks? Why can't you afford those groceries? So what is your when? Be very, very specific. So hopefully you're already kind of formulating that and thinking that in your brain, because the more specific your story, the more relatable it is to somebody else. So then let's go into the what. So the what was the bulk of her story. The cancer, the sweating for something bigger, the Stuart Scott, the going to the Metros and hearing and just crying with them. All of those parts are her what.
I think it's also important to know that I had almost a turning point in that small story. And that was talking by chance just to my coach's husband and hearing about Stuart Scott. There was a turning point, a shift in the way that I was thinking, in the way that I wanted to look at the diagnosis.
So what is that? What is your turning point? What was your rock bottom? What was the moment that made you think, okay, something has to give? So the what, be thinking about that right now. And the more details you have, the better. And we'll talk later, after we get through this part, how you share some of those details. But the more details you have, the better. And you may not share them all right away, but every one of those details will connect with somebody different and will pull in something or someone different each and every time. But none of this matters if you don't triumph from it. Like she said earlier, if you don't turn your mess into your message, none of this matters. You're just telling a story to tell it. And so there has to be a bigger purpose, and that's your how. How has life changed since Beachbody? Because remember, we're talking about your Beachbody story. So how did Beachbody impact that turning point in your life, that rock bottom in your life, that point where you didn't feel comfortable in your own skin? How did Beachbody impact that? So if we look at her story, how did Beachbody impact it?
So how did Beachbody impact it? Because Beachbody gave me the programs I was sweating at home. Because Beachbody had told me that if I shared my story, I would inspire other people. And our job as Beachbody coaches is not to sell a certain number of challenge packs, guys. It is to inspire people. And so in doing that, if I was going to just post once a day, if I was going to inspire people once a day, or when I could, I knew that my business would move forward. Because I was focusing on giving to others. I was helping other people.
So your story has shape. You have a subject, one of those 3 buckets: financial, emotional, physical. You're going to take us to when. What was it like before, or what was going on, or what was that very specific time? You're going to move us into the what, the meat of the story. What was that rock bottom? What was that turning point? What was that one thing that made you think something has to give? And then the best part of it all is, how did you triumph? How did you turn that into something bigger? And how did Beachbody help you do that? So breadcrumbing. Sharing small pieces of your story to keep people interested, engaged, and wanting to know more. One of the things that Beachbody coaches, especially newer ones, are super good at doing is word vomiting, right? We just love to give all kinds of information. And even with your story, it has to be given in small doses. I bet you your story's a little bit bigger than that, isn't it?
I think so. I do not think that if I gave you all the information and all of the details in one sitting, that you could handle it. And I know that. But the other piece of it is that I find very interesting is it keeps people engaged. They want to know more. So just because I finished my cancer treatments does not mean I have finished my battle against cancer. I am still fighting on a different level, and I still fight for people who are not able to fight themselves. So I think that's important too, is that your story is ongoing. The problem, the subject of your story, kind of allows you, it molds you into the coach that you're becoming, but it's always rooted in the story.
You can share pieces over time. You know, each time I tell my financial transformation story, I feel a little bit more comfortable and I uncover extra layers that I've never told before. And so don't feel like as you build out this story that you're going to have like this 30-minute presentation that you're going to give to somebody, or you're going to have the longest post on Facebook ever. You're going to give them breadcrumbs, little layers over time that are going to keep people coming back for more. So when you hear a story like that, you think, gosh, wonder how she's doing now. Wonder what's going on. Or even with me, as I have been building a new home, and it's been very humbling, I've been sharing that with my social media following, and people are so supportive because I've constantly brought them on the journey. I told them where I was, where I am now, and how Beachbody has helped me do that along the way. So just know that as you're building your story, we don't expect for you to tell it all in one part. And as you get good at storytelling, you'll become more and more comfortable. Actually, Lindsay Matway was a beautiful representation of that today. I've heard many layers of her story today, but I think that was the deepest that I've ever heard. And why? Because she's been breadcrumbing it. And as she tells her story, she adds in another layer. She gives you just one more crumb so that you want more.
Great. I'm going to give you guys a gut check right now. I love one thing that the presenter this morning was talking about, and Christine Dwyer mentioned that a lot of times we hide behind the product. Sometimes when I scroll through my news feed, I go, oh, because all I see are products. All I see are products. I don't see people. I don't relate to a product. I don't relate to something that can sit on my shelf. I relate to a person. So I'm going to give you two examples, and Danielle is going to give you one that's going to be a real gut check, and we're going to challenge all of you to go onto your Facebook newsfeed, your own timeline, and to look at your posts, and to ask yourself these three questions. And number one is, can this post inspire? Did I have a purpose to this post, or did I feel like I've just been told I need to post 3 to 5 times a day, so I'm going to put a post up. Boom, here's some size. Or is there something behind that post? Is it something where you're breadcrumbing, you're leaving people wanting more? You are at Summit, which is an amazing opportunity for you to get people to understand the bigger picture of what you're doing. Is this something that will help someone? Is this something that will make a difference? You know, some people are very consistent with posting first thing in the morning. And sometimes you might say to yourself, I haven't posted in a couple of days because nobody was liking, nobody was responding, nobody was commenting, nobody cared, I didn't matter. And then all of a sudden somebody reaches out to you and says, I didn't see your post today. Where'd you go? You are inspiring. But if you start to just post without purpose, you're going to lose an audience because you're going to sound like a salesperson. Every time before I put a post out there, I ask, what's my point? Can this post inspire? Or can this post make a difference in somebody's day? I love when somebody tells me that I brighten their day in some way. It makes me feel truly fulfilled when somebody says, thank you for just being you, for posting or inspiring me.
And the final question is, am I being real? And this one is big for me. I feel that, I'm going to give you a term, hopefully I don't get in trouble for it. So I call this a Stepford coach. You've ever heard of Stepford wives? right? They all dress the same, they look the same. Or have you ever seen Edward Scissorhands and all the houses look the same? So I call it being a Stepford coach. And so many times I'm scrolling through my newsfeed, I'm like, there's another Stepford coach. And what that means is that their posts look alike, they sound alike, they smell alike. There's nothing real. And that representation is not the person that you meet out and about. Social should be what you see is what you get. And I hope that if you follow me or Katy on social media, that when you meet us in person, that's one of the first things you think, gosh, you're just the same on social as you are in person.
And Danielle, I have to mention that one thing you taught me in a call was that so what factor. Can you touch on that because it's so good?
So what? I would say when you go to make a post, you need to look at it and think, will someone look at this and go, and so what? Let me give you an example. You go to your friend's baby shower. You're so happy. You take all these pictures of you at this baby shower. When I'm scrolling through the newsfeed, I look at it and I'm like, okay, so what? And it's not because I didn't want you to go to your friend's baby shower, but what am I supposed to get out of that? That probably would have done better in a group strand between you and all your closest friends. So when you're making these posts as it relates to your story, number one, remember that it has to be your Beachbody story, and it has to be you that you're representing, and you can't try to be anybody else. That's what I did in the beginning. I thought I had to be a certain way, and I had to look a certain way, and I had to act a certain way, and that's what people would relate to. And when I really just started being me, good old fit and funky me, don't care if I am different in any way, shape, or form, that's when people wanted to hear my story, and that's when things started to take shape. But if you put your post through the so what test, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get better engagement. Because if somebody's scrolling through their newsfeed, they're like, oh. Because we can take that same baby shower story. Maybe you are so happy to be at this friend's baby shower because prior to meeting you, she was too overweight to get pregnant. And so she came to you for help and bought a challenge pack and joined one of your challenge groups and lost weight, and then next thing you know, now she's pregnant with her first kid. Now it went from so what to how awesome is that? So as you're making your post, as it relates to your story, you really need to think, does it pass the so what factor? And also, am I being 100% authentically me? If you've gone to any of Sean's workouts this week, you heard him talk about that a lot. You have to be 100% who you are. Because not maybe everyone will connect with me. And maybe not everyone will connect with Katy, but they'll connect with you. And the only way they'll do that is if you're being real.
So when you're looking at your news feeds, those are the kind of things that you need to look at. You need to look at your timeline and ask yourself, am I passing the so what factor? Okay, so this is just sort of a recap of what we do. Now, how do we actually tell our story? Well, you have to practice it. And that might mean that you involve your upline coach, your success partner. It might mean that you get on a team call and share it. Or on social media, you start doing exactly what Danielle was talking about, those small breadcrumbs that you put out. Or possibly ask someone on the market council in your area and ask them, hey, I'm interested in telling my story. Could I possibly tell it at a Super Saturday?
And we get it. We know that that is really, really scary. But unless you get uncomfortable, you're never going to get comfortable. And honestly, if something isn't making you completely nauseous and scared, then you're probably not doing the right thing anyway. So you have to practice telling your story. You have to get it out there.
So Danielle's going to talk about thick skin, but before she talks about it, I want to just tell you that I was reading in my morning devotional the other day that 10% of all people you come in contact with have made up their mind that they do not like you. They just don't. And as Beachbody coaches, most people who feel like they're struggling with confidence or posting or aren't doing their personal development, they're thinking about that 10%. And Danielle wants to talk to you about how she focuses on the 90. the ones who really can be impacted by her?
Yeah, so the more you tell your story on a call, on a Super Saturday, those things typically are pretty comfortable. You're surrounded by people you love, you feel pretty safe. But social, y'all, social is a nasty, nasty place sometimes, right? People either love you or they love to hate you because they can hide behind their computer screens. And if there is anybody in this room who gets the brunt of negativity on social media, it's me. You look like a man. Women don't have muscles. You need some curves. You look like a man. You look like a man. You look like a man. I'm standing before you today, and I'm pretty sure I don't look like a man. But it doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore. Did it in the beginning? Absolutely. I used to cry my eyes out. I don't understand. And that's why I was scared. So if just little things like that would happen on social, why oh why would I ever tell you that I was broke? Or why oh why would I ever admit that I was going through a divorce and I was changing my name? During that time, I felt like I was the first Beachbody coach ever to publicly change her last name. And I was like, gosh, if people are just gonna pick on me because I have muscles, imagine if I get really deep. And so I had to develop thick skin. And so do you. Because no matter what your story is, not everyone will like it, and not everyone will support you. And the more you tell your story, the thicker your skin gets. I am impervious, is that the right word? Something, one of those big words. I taught math, not English. It can't get me. I have armor. My skin is so thick now. Nothing you say to me can hurt me. And on those days on my social where I have a few people who are not supporters, I remember to focus on all the other people who do care about me. All the other people who are inspired by what I have to share. Because like she said, that 10% is not my problem. That 10%, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, they don't care. It's not about me, it's about them. So as you tell your story, I beg of you to let your skin thicken. It is the only way you will make it through. Now, it doesn't mean you become heartless. I still have feelings and I still have a heart. I just know that if you don't like my story, it's 100% about you and nothing to do with me. Okay?
All right, so think of storytelling as an art. I was an English teacher, so I should have known the definition of that word. I'm actually mortified right now that I didn't.
It's been a long time, you know. Now we have to learn how to speak fixed language. It's so confusing.
I know. All right, so the art of storytelling is that you're breadcrumbing. You're revealing it in chapters. You start with the simple script we give you. It's the when, it's the what, and it's the how. But it has to connect to Beachbody. You're not all Beachbody all the time, but Beachbody is sort of kind of intermixed with your story. There's these little breadcrumbs, these little snippets of Beachbody and how it's transforming your life in one of those three ways. You get comfortable with one aspect of your story and you share that. So think about those things that were going on in your mind. Was it an emotional? Was it a physical? Or was it a financial? Where did you connect your Beachbody story to? What do you feel you could really start working on in order to have one of those three stories?
Cool. Oh, did you do that whole thing? Am I supposed to click?
I think you do develop.
Oh, am I supposed to go back? Oh, develop. I was just listening to her. I was so focused. So, develop several short stories. So we talked about that earlier, right? You are going to have many different stories. So while today I kind of focused on my financial story and she's focused on her cancer story, I also tell the story of how I've gotten fitter, right? I was fit before, but I'm so much fitter now. It actually took me from just a girl who liked to work out to now I'm considered a fitness professional and I teach classes sometimes all over the world. That's a story. So you have to have different stories not just one, and you'll develop those over time.
Yeah, and so for example, even though I do not have cancer anymore, I still talk about how I don't work out because I'm trying to get a six-pack. I truly work out because I look at it as a way I gain confidence. It's for the clarity I get when I actually spend time working out. So even though it's intertwined in the cancer story, it's always evolving, it's always changing, and that's where those short stories come in too.
And have a clear beginning, ending, and segue back to your topic point. And honestly, that's just good conversation. The more you get out and actually talk to people, I know we've talked a lot about social in sharing your story, but y'all, if you just got out there and said hello to more people and actually engaged in actual conversation, and like our keynote speaker said today, if you actually put away your phone instead of just turning it upside down, guilty, then you have better segues. So that your story doesn't, what you don't want is to go up to someone and say, hey, I'm going to tell you my story today.
Yeah.
And then it'd be all over the place, and then you don't know how to kind of get back to where that topic started. And so you have to have a clear beginning, a clear ending, and you have to figure out how you're going to transition so that it makes it comfortable and natural. Because I don't think I've ever just walked up to somebody and said, I'm going to tell you my story today. Unless I was a speaker somewhere, because then they expect that.
Awesome. So continuing on, we just want to give you a couple of tips that you can take with you in order to start really crafting your story and then applying it to your business. The first is don't strive to be perfect. I do not relate to perfection. Nobody does. You don't want to see somebody who has all the answers, knows exactly what they're doing, and think, I really connect to them. It doesn't work like that. You connect to people who have made their mess into their message. And the other thing that drives me crazy is when we get robotic. We aren't giving our sass. We're not putting on our sassy pants, if you will. You need to make sure that when you're posting, you're giving you. Gosh, I want to know you. I don't want to know the product that you're hiding behind. I already know that. Beachbody does an awesome job of sharing their products and how great they are. But it's you that has to share you. And it's okay to share about success, but you want to make sure you're making it something that other people see as doable, that other people can achieve. Danielle's in the Millionaire Club. I'm not yet, but I can tell you the fact that she did it and I know her mess tells me, I think I can do it too. Why not? I mean, why not? Let's do it, guys. Let's all become millionaires.
Yeah!
And get comfortable. I want to actually challenge that a little bit. I want to say get comfortably uncomfortable sharing your story often. It should always feel a little bit, when you share it. I just did that. Did I say it right? I hope it came off right. You might question it a little bit. But when you do that and you share it often, you're going to thicken your skin to the point where people start to say, well, she can do it, I can do it too.
So less is more, simplicity is key, and that's just true in life, right? So just like earlier when Katy shared her story, she didn't give you the whole thing. She gave you a snippet to be very simple with it. Don't feel like you have to share it all at once. Be transparent. Share how you're learning from it, and that's honestly the biggest piece. Whatever your mess is, as long as you're learning from it, then that's what matters. It can be as messy as you want, but if there's some kind of takeaway, then that's where the value lies. And of course, tie the story back to how Beachbody played a part. Because while we don't want you to be like Beachbody, 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 all the time.
I like that dance.
Thank you. This is my Beachbody dance. You should see me size it up. Anyway, hard in his skirt. But Beachbody is the whole reason we want you to tell your story, and the whole reason we did this presentation, and the whole reason you're here is because you want to help more people. And in order to do that, your story has to relate back to Beachbody. Because at the end of the day, the 21-day fix is cool, size is awesome, Shakeology is the bomb, but that's not what got you in this seat. If that was true, those products would be on the shelves of Walmart. It's the coach that matters, so you have to tie your story back.
All right, so we're going to go through these pretty quickly, too. Actually, do you want to start these ones?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So going live with your story, know your audience. So it matters who you're talking to, okay? So if you're talking face to face, that's probably a little bit easier. But let's talk social for a minute. Know your audience. So I always use my friend Brandy. She's kind of my avatar. She's a 40-something mother of 3. She's an elementary school teacher, and so she, struggles sometimes with her weight and with, making it paycheck to paycheck. So whenever I'm sharing my story on social, I think of her specifically. I'm like, would she find this relatable? Would Brandy read this post and think, wow? So if you don't have something like that, I highly recommend you find an avatar, you make an avatar, or you find someone in your life that kind of is your target audience. Because my target audience is typically a 25 to 45-year-old working mom. That's who follows me. And so that's who I'm speaking to. So if I targeted my story to like 30-something guys, they may not relate the same way. So figure out who your audience is and talk as if you're talking to that one specific person.
All right, so believe your story matters. It's just like I told you at the end of my story. You are the one that has to believe that you can make an impact on one person's life. If you don't think that you matter, you don't. You are the one that has to believe that you matter. Be intentional. Nobody is going to come to you and walk up to you and say, so what's your story, Morning Glory? You're the one that has to get out there. I did.
That was funny. I don't know what that was. That was cute though. I like it.
You have to be intentional with where you're posting and how you're talking about your story. You have to go out there and start forming relationships and connecting with people. If you aren't intentional about posting, then no one will ever come up to you and say, what's your story? And guys, we're just going to leave you with a call to action. You need to be able to craft your story using the skills that we've given to you today. Finding those buckets and thinking, which one can I talk about most confidently in my Beachbody story? Create a 1 minute, and I keep it at 1 minute because the attention span of people is very short. Keep it at 1 minute. Make a 1 minute video where you're talking about your story. Practice it in the mirror. Practice it with an upline coach. Just start talking about your story. Start actually making your story, and crafting it, and perfecting it, and then share it. And when you're ready, share it on social media with the hashtag MyBBStory.
So we put on the bottom, your story matters, as a reminder that we don't want you to get caught up in what I like to call the windshield wiper game.
Send me a friend request.
Because when you post your story on social with that hashtag, you're very likely to go look at some of the other postings. Maybe yours got 7 likes and somebody else has got 423. Oh gosh, their story is better than mine and now they're going to get more coaches than me and oh, I'm never going to be good at this, I quit. Some of y'all think that way, don't they? Oh.
And some people actually do quit. They're like, what are you doing? You don't even know.
Your story is important. Your story matters, and it doesn't matter whether you have 7 likes or 7,000 likes. You need to look forward. You don't need to look left and right. Your story is important. Your story is what will have somebody in these seats next year. So when you post your story and you're ready and you use that hashtag, look at the other stories and think, wow, what a wonderful community I'm a part of. And don't worry about the likes, the comments, the shares. Just be proud that you got your story out there for the very first time. I know this is a heavy workshop, but it's so powerful because our stories are what brought us here today, and your story is what will bring people here next year. So we thank you so very much and hope you have an amazing